Hello and welcome to Order Within, navigating a world of endless chaos and crisis. Many of us are experiencing inner turmoil, insecurity, anxiety, fears, and isolation. These feelings are only being amplified by news cycles, social media, and never-ending political madness. How do we find our way out of the chaos? How do we find strength within ourselves? How do we find meaning in a world driven by materialism? These questions and many more I aim to answer on the show. My goal is to be a trusted guide on your journey to selfhood. May you find what you seek. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Brandon Ward, back with another episode of Order Within. Episode number 43, approaching the pinnacle of 50. I don't know if it's a pinnacle. It's not a pinnacle because I'm going to keep going beyond that, so it's not a pinnacle. Hopefully y'all are having a good February so far. It's crazy to me that it's February 2023. I'm soon to be 38 this month, which is exciting. I actually like getting older. Hopefully you do too. You can lean into it. I've found that leaning into life in general often makes the process more enjoyable. So if we can lean into getting older, embrace it, we can enjoy that process. All right, but we're not talking about aging in today's episode. We're going to be talking about how to create your ideal life. And it's not the tangible steps to do the things that are necessary. That's going to be unique to each of us. For some of us, that may be building businesses. For others, that may be finding specific careers. For others, that may be the family life that they envision. It will be unique to each. But the purpose of today's episode is to explore two questions that can help us create the vision of our ideal life so that we can become more clear on what it is that we want from our life, what we're seeking to create. The beautiful thing about the world that we live in is we truly are creators. We are children of the universe, all family, and all seated with that creative power. So our joy and our fulfillment comes from creating and living a life that's authentic to who we are, but that's going to be unique to each of us. That's the beauty of it. So the standards of success that we set for ourselves will be different for each of us, and it's important that we do that, because if we're not setting our own standard for success, if we're not clear on what it is that we want, then we are most likely living the lives and vision of someone else. And that is a tough spot to find fulfillment in, to find peace, to find joy. So the goal here is to help us uncover what lives inside of us, get more clear about what it is that we want, and then start to take action towards those things. So we're going to go over two questions. I'm going to talk about them in the next section here. We're going to set the stage for these two questions. I'm going to go over creating your ideal life vision. Then we're going to talk about bringing your vision to life. So things that we can do to organize around our vision. I'm going to go over some fictional examples like I often do on this show, which is fun, to cover some movies and these ideas, these principles in a fun way. And then we'll close the show. But just a quick reminder, y'all, this show is, in my coaching practice now, is all about transforming ourselves to become the most authentic and powerful version of ourselves, whatever that means to each of us, because we all have this creative power, this seed of creation within each of us. It's an individuality, it's a creative power, and all of us have a uniqueness that we bring. So it's about activating and cultivating that spark, that power that each of us carry to find more fulfillment, to find purpose and meaning in life, and really make the most out of why we're here and grow and become the best version of who we are. It's really, to me, that's how I define destiny. Destiny is aligning our life with the highest version of our potential. Our highest potential is our greatest destiny. It's not guaranteed, but it's our potential to live. So we want to strive towards living our destiny, living our greatest potential. And it's important, again, earlier, as defining success and redefining success the way we see it is what matters, because our version of success should be different than those around us. It should be. It shouldn't be money and material things for everyone. I hope not, because if it is only those things, we're not progressing. We're not going deeper into ourselves, the world, and our creative process. So the goal is to get deeper into who we are and uncover who we are and what we desire, and then work to align our life around that vision. And last, before we get into it here, understanding that it's a process. This is all a process. I think many of us, and I've been like this at many points in my life, we want to get to that end state, but the shift happens when we begin to enjoy the journey. We're not focused on the end state. Now, that might seem contradictory here because we're talking about creating your ideal life, but it's important. I think it's even more important to note in this episode because the creation of our ideal life is the journey. So we want to enjoy that journey. That's why the work that we're doing, the things that we do each day are really what matter, not these large, broad, sweeping experiences or material gains that we have in life. It's that journey that we go through. So understanding that it's a process and doing what we can, leaning into enjoying the journey. Like we are on an adventure. We want to live that adventure. If we go and travel the world or if we go somewhere to a fun event, we don't want the event to be over. We want to enjoy it. We want to get all of the experience out of it that we can. That's the goal that we're looking to get towards with our lives. We want to feel the same way. All right, here we go, y'all. So 2 questions, whatever resonate. They're basically the same question, just framed in 2 different ways. And I found that it may resonate with people differently just because of their relationship with money. And so I framed the question differently. And it's not my questions. These are pretty common questions that have been around for a long time. But the first one is one. So the goal here is to think about these questions, use these questions as an exercise to explore creating our ideal life, what that life would look like, what the days look like. Literally, if you were to map out your day-to-day, what would that be? And then thinking about more of this stuff. So we're going to get into it here. So the first one is, if you no longer had to work for money and were free to do whatever each day, what would you do with your time? And then the second question is, if you could wave a magic wand and live any life you desire, what would it be? So you can tell there's just some small nuance in there. The idea, though, is ultimately whether it's having a bunch of money or if you have a magic wand to wave and change things, what would you do? I find that most people resonate with one of those. You can do both if you want, but one is fine. Honestly, you don't need to overcomplicate it. Just doing the work is what matters most. I personally have always leaned into if I no longer had to work for money and I was free to do whatever I wanted to do each day, what would it be? And so that is part of it. Like we go through these exercises to identify what it is for us that we see as our ideal life. And the thing is, when you start to consider your life, if you had all the money or you could wave a magic wand, either one, it's still the same concept, right? If you no longer had to spend your life working for money and you had the things that you needed now and things were taken care of and you didn't have to work, what would you do? Most of us think initially it's going to be consumption, a lot of consumption, which it will be when we've spent a majority of our life grinding and working our tails off. We want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So initially it's going to be very consumption heavy. I get that. We're going to buy things that we've always wanted. We're going to take trips that we've always wanted to do. We're going to have these experiences that we wanted to do. So once you got all that stuff out of the way, that's fine. Note that stuff down. Write this stuff down. That's the whole point, right? Like you ask these questions and you start journaling or you start recording yourself talking. You want to capture this so we can review it. I personally use a Remarkable. I love it just because I was always a journaler. I filled up many journals, but I would lose stuff in them because I don't know where it was. I would forget about it, whereas a Remarkable is a digital notebook. So I literally have everything organized. My thoughts are organized. I can go back and capture and go through this stuff and review it. I just love the visceral impact of the feeling that I get when I write in it. So for me, that's where I do my goals, my journaling, all that stuff, my vision work. So whatever works for you though, right? You need to find what works for you. If it's talking, if it's writing, if it's recording yourself on video, it doesn't really matter. But you got to find your thing and you got to go through these exercises. So go through the exercise, start thinking about what you would do or what you want, and look at And then we're going to get in more here, like how we can get into tangibly doing this, but start extracting those pieces and start documenting them. And once you get through that consumption phase, start to think about your day. What would your day look like? What time would you get up? Where would you be sleeping? What home would you be living in? What area would you be living in? Who would you be with? Would you have a family? Would you not have a family? Would you have pets? Would you have lots of pets? Would you have one pet? Would you have a farm? Would you have animals outside? Would you live in the city? Would you live secluded? Like, these are the things that you want to be thinking about. What would you dress? What would you eat? Would you meditate? Would you exercise? Would you journal? What creative activities would you be doing? These are the things. Something that happened for me when I started to do this, I got through all the stuff that I would buy and the trips that I would take and everything else. But what became clear to me was that what I wanted more than anything was to share my love for God, for Christ, for my faith, my belief in humans. To be honest, not the traditional religious perspective, but what I've come to know as my own personal relationship with God and the glory that we all carry within us. I've just come to find this in myself, and I see it in everyone else. And so we're a family. And so for me, those two things, recognizing our heavenly creator and the fact that we are a human family, a spiritual family, drives me. And so I want to serve. I want to be of service. And coaching, to be honest, if I didn't need money, I would still be doing this. I would still be writing content. I would be recording this podcast. I would be doing the things that I'm doing now. The only difference is that I'm ideally going to be growing this business and expanding it like we do when we set these visions. There are phases. If we plan to climb a mountain, we have to start at the bottom and make our way up. So just because we know the pinnacle is our goal, doesn't mean that we're not enjoying things along the way. That's the whole thing, right? But we're identifying kind of markers along the way to ensure that we are ascending towards our desired destination. And so there are pieces of our vision that we can start to apply and ensure that it's in our life. And if it's not, we can go about working to make that happen. So when we're thinking about these things, that's how I want you to be thinking about it. Get through kind of the consumption phase and then start to break down your day on what you would be doing, on how you would spend your time. Are there certain things that you think you would like to do? If you didn't have to think about that, if you didn't have to think about money, or you could wave a magic wand, what would you do? And this is so powerful because once you get clear on this vision, once you start to uncover what it is, now you know what you can start to do, because what will come out of this is a life in there, activities, responsibilities, jobs. Things will emerge and you can start to piece together a tangible life that you can work towards. And that's how we stay focused. And this can keep us motivated on track, because and it's important to keep this stuff up in front of us to be able to review it and check in on our life vision, to be able to check off the things that we want to accomplish, because it's anchoring those things. There was a study in the Harvard Business Journal recently where it's less than 90% of people actually write down their goals and vision. Even like at Harvard, that's what it was. It was at Harvard. 90% of students at Harvard don't write down their goals and visions each year. Only 10% of them. At Harvard, that's Ivy League. Those are supposed to be the best of the best. If Ivy League students aren't doing it, then everyday people like us are not doing it. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. So it's important for us to anchor these things into reality. Because if we don't, it's so easy to get lost, to feel unfulfilled, to get pulled into the path, the vision, the ideas of success that the world has provided us. The world has a very specific vision of what success is. It's built around materialism, power, status. That's the model of success that we've been sold in our society. But for me, I realized I didn't want that. I didn't want those things, not at least in the traditional sense of how you would go about achieving them. If I become wealthy, if that's in the path, if that's part of my life here, if that's part of my universal mission on this planet, and doing the things that I do every day turn into wealth, for my family and others, I'm going to do my best to honor that, pray about it, and allow God to lead me how to manage that. But I've let go of my desire to have those things because now again, I'm not saying, let me rephrase that. I would love those things, but I'm not clinging to them. My life, my happiness, my fulfillment does not depend on me doing that. If it's a part of the cards, then so be it. But the actions, the things that I do each day are what I've come to realize are what matters. And that's the goal for you as well. We want to get to the point to where we're living a life that's aligned with who we are, with our values, with the things that we're passionate about, the things that we're interested in, because this is how we slowly put together a life that matters to us. And so when we start to identify the life that we want, things will start to surface. Think about your values. Think about the things that that matter to you, your passions, your interest. One thing that I always love to do is thinking about things that you enjoyed maybe when you were a kid that you haven't been able to explore as an adult. So exploring those things and start to piece together. And then what you'll do is you'll start to get a picture of your ideal life, the activities that you want to be in it, the type of people that you want to be around, where you want to live, how much money you want to be making, like just the way you spend your days, how you spend your life, your energy, your focus. That's what matters. As those things become more clear as you think about this exercise, I know they're very simple questions, but you can go very, very deep with this. So I encourage you to go as deep as possible, get as detailed as possible, and be patient. Have fun. Have fun with yourself. Remember, this is an envisioning exercise. This is meant to be fun. You are creating the model of your life in your mind's eye first. Everything that comes to life, that manifests in the world, first begins as a vision in someone's mind, and then we work to bring it to life. So this is step one, is building that vision. And then the second piece of that is going to start identifying the things that don't align with that vision now. Maybe it's people, maybe it's the work that you're doing, maybe it's where you're living. You start to identify those pieces as well and look to make changes, because habits and how we change, we don't just rip things out. We have to replace them with something. So if we make a change in our life, so if there are bad habits that we don't want to continue doing, say we're watching too much Netflix, or we're consuming porn, or we're playing too many video games, whatever it is, we're doom scrolling on Twitter for 2 hours a day. We have to find new activities to replace that activity with, because if we just pull that out, we're going to be in a void, and then we're going to be in our head, and then we're going to spin out, and then we're going to go back to old habits. It's just the wiring in our brain is powerful, and it's meant to operate without our awareness. So the moment we start to lose that awareness, it just goes back into autopilot mode. So we have to be intentional about how we create it and how we shift it. And these things really matter. That's how we do that, is we uncover who we are, what matters to us, and we have to take the time to go about doing that. So we're looking at creating your ideal life, and you're thinking about it from a step-by-step perspective. So we're in step one right now, right? Looking at your passions, your interests, your values, understanding what you want, what you enjoy, what you like, and identifying those things. And again, getting more detailed and granular as you can, experiencing it, thinking about it, feeling it, seeing how you feel when you envision these things, when you think about these things. Does it excite you? Does it get you charged? What are you feeling when you're going through these things? So note this stuff, right? You just want to make mental notes of how you're feeling, because those feelings are indicators. So as you uncover these things, you start to see pieces forming, and you'll find threads. It may be a type of work, it may be a certain location, it may be certain types of people or an energy. And so from there, we want to start getting more specific on what those things are. So if we're going to break down a goal, as an example, if you know that your ideal life is lived somewhere in the Southwest, okay, that's great. Well, where is it specifically? Is it somewhere in California? Is it Arizona? Is it Colorado? What part of those areas? Are there certain homes that you like? Would you rent? Would you be in a condo? What type of friends would you have? So you're really getting detailed. and you want to start breaking those things down. So if you want to move to a place that you're not living now, you start at the high level, and then you think about what would the next step down be. All right, and if you're struggling with this, because sometimes it's hard to think about things linear, because we don't often do things in a linear fashion. There's process to things, but when we're trying to accomplish big goals like this, it's sometimes tough to do a linear approach. So if we don't know exactly what the next step would be, so if we were to think about, if you're living somewhere right now and your ideal life is in Colorado, as an example, you need to start to think about what you would want to do. Okay, Colorado, awesome. All right, so I need to pick a city or 3 cities. So start picking 3 cities. Okay, I'm going to look at those 3 cities. I've selected those 3 cities. Now I'm going to go into those 3 cities and I'm going to identify a few areas or neighborhoods that I would like to see. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to think about some trips or a trip that I could take to go explore these areas and fill them out myself and then get a sense of what I want. I'm also going to start looking at properties or rentals or whatever it may be in the area to get a sense of what the homes are like. And I may start building a list of areas of homes that I enjoy or areas that I like. From there, you actually look at, okay, now I'm going to start planning a trip. I'm going to set a time. I'm going to make sure that I take time off for work. I'm going to put my ducks in a row to ensure that I can do that. I'm going to get my Airbnb or hotel, whatever it is, in those areas. I'm going to make connections with people in the community. I'm going to leverage the Airbnb and talk to people in the neighborhood to get a sense of the area. You can see, gang, how this can be exhaustive, but that's the point. You want to, so if you're struggling with next steps, just start to think about all the things that you might have to do. It's totally okay, and just write them down and start documenting them, and then you can organize them around later. The goal is now, you don't have to think about this too linear, in a linear fashion. It's just getting the pieces together, and then you can, the next steps will become more clear. That's something too, when we're doing this, we have to let go of how things will be. That doesn't mean we don't make the effort to understand, like I was just doing with moving. But there are pieces to that process that we won't know, and we have to learn to be okay with that. We have to work on accepting that we won't know everything and that there are things that we're just going to have to let go and be okay with. And in this process of creation, there are a lot of things that happen that we won't know how they happen. So once we do that, we have to let go of knowing every little tiny detail of how things will become, because we just won't know. So you can start to break these down, and you're going to you'll start to get a sense of the time that these will take. So moving to Colorado may be a 2-year plan, right? Based on where you are now. Maybe you need to make more money. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that you have to take care of in your local area. So you have to think about that. But then you start to break those down into smaller chunks. In order to move to Colorado 2 years from now, what do I need to do today or this week? Even looking at weeks. I think when you're looking at 2, 3, 5-year visions, thinking about things that you do on a weekly basis can be helpful. And then you also look at your days, how you're prioritizing your days on a day, how you manage those days. And then you want to make sure that you're getting just one little piece of that 2-year plan on each day. So you have your week, that you're the goal that you may have for the week relative to that 2-year plan. And then you look at each day, and when you get up and you set a priority for your day. And again, this doesn't have to be overcomplicated. We can do tiny little things. If that means I'm going to add one property to my property list for this new city each day, then there's something that's driving me closer to my goal of getting to Colorado 2 years from now. So it's the small little steps that we take each day, breaking these things down, realizing that you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have everything mapped out and exactly laid out ahead of time. The goal is to get clear more about what you want, the big picture things, and being detailed and specific about it, and allowing the details of how it comes to be to fill in over time. But it's more important to get clear on where you're driving towards. And I encourage you to do this, to think 3 months out, 6 months out, a year, 2 years, 5, 10, really envision, have fun with this. Give yourself space to do this. If you want to break it up in chunks and do it, this kind of stuff for me, I like to sit down for 45 minutes to an hour at least, put some music on, maybe have a drink, and just relax, enjoy yourself, make it a fun experience. This isn't meant to be work. It's meant to be fun and creative, and detailing out that life, your day-to-day, the activities that you're doing, the people that you're hanging out with, the interests that you have, the hobbies that you're doing, the foods you're eating. Everything, y'all. Like all that stuff, it matters. So you can start to get clear. Now, if for whatever reason, the food stuff, if some of this stuff isn't important to you or isn't relevant, that's fine. You don't have to do all of this. But my point is, get detailed, focus on what matters to you, and spend time. Take the time to do this. Have some fun with it. Be light. Play. And so it's a fun experience when we do this. And those two questions, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it, what life would you be living? Or if you didn't have to work for money and money was no longer an object, what would you do with your time? They're so fun when we do it. And so much can come out of this. Like I said earlier, that's how I got clear on what I wanted with my life. Once I pulled money out of the picture and I'm like, okay, what would I do if I didn't need money? And I started to think about it and I'm like, I really love helping people. I love creating content. I've been obsessed with enlightenment, self-mastery, all this stuff for a decade now, over a decade. I think this is what I would like to do, this type of stuff. And I've been working towards this for several years now, and meeting my wife and moving. We moved to North Carolina from California. We're both now building businesses. But this has been happening over a span of time for several years. And I was a mess years ago. So the tighter we get internally, the more balanced and whole we are internally, the more healed we are internally, the more effective we become at creating and producing and building. That's the beauty of this. But when we're broken, creation, production, productivity, all those things become challenging. They become difficult because our energy is not flowing properly. Like our systems are out of whack. Our health is out of whack. And we don't have the energy flow that we need to have. And we do that by healing and aligning ourselves. That's how we allow that energy to flow through us and we become instruments of creation, which is such a powerful place to be. And as I've mentioned, y'all, the details are very important here. Like I said, think about the things that you love and get in there deep and dig into what you want. The details really do matter. So we're bringing this stuff to life. Now we're going to look at bringing this stuff to life. I talked a little bit about in that last section, but the bigger thing is we make plans to achieve our goals. We have to put some kind of plan in place to achieve our goal. If we just have the vision and no plans, then we're just wishing. We're not being tangible. We're not taking tangible action. The vision work is crucial. That's the fun thing. But we also have to anchor this to actions. We have to take actions around our vision. And that's why getting all the vision stuff out, dumping it all out, clearing it out, getting clean, getting detailed, being specific, having fun. So break these exercises apart. Work on your vision. If it takes you a month, a week, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you need to have multiple sessions, you probably will need multiple sessions just because it takes time to do this and it clarifies over time. Things will change as you get in and you start building and you start to learn too, because a lot of times we think we want something, but we don't realize it until we get in there that it's not quite what we want. So once you do that, so first focus on the vision aspect of it, but then now you look at bringing that vision to life, and that works at creating plans. Now, this isn't how-to, linear, concrete, specific, really crazy plans. They're going to change, but we got to start taking some of those vision pieces and putting them into actionable steps. And that's what I was talking about earlier is depending on what comes out in your vision, we need to start taking actionable steps. So I said moving was one. Let's use health and fitness as another. If we want to get into good shape or if we want to feel good internally, like me being the internal guy, let's do some mental health. We want to feel confident. We want to feel high self-esteem. We want to feel a sense of inner balance. That's the vision that we have. Awesome. Okay, so what are some tangible steps that we can do to start to create that reality? And lucky for y'all, I've done a lot of work around this stuff. There are tools that you can leverage. So if your goal is to have higher confidence, have higher self-esteem, feel better about who you are, have inner peace, then you can take up and learn how to journal, how to do inner bonding work. You can learn to reconnect with your inner child and start to explore that and start to engage in those exercises and start to build that mental muscle. You can start doing meditation in the mornings. You can leverage a journaling practice. You can learn about the growth mindset. You can learn about the self-esteem principles. All these things that we learn. You can learn about positive intelligence and positive psychology. There are specific tangible steps that we can begin to take if we have these goals. And if we don't know what to do, then that's okay too. We say, you know what? I don't know what I need to do here, but I need to figure it out, and I'm going to figure it out. And I note that I don't know what to do, so I'm going to put it out there. I don't know what to do, universe, and I need some help. I know not everyone's going to be faith-oriented people, and I understand that, but prayer is very powerful. You don't have to do it in the traditional sense, but putting vibes out to the universe and asking for help and guidance, that's praying. And so you don't have to do it to a God if you don't want to. Do it to whatever feels right for you, but that will help clarify those things. So getting specific about what we are doing, what we're working on, once we get clear on that vision, we can start to work backwards. And again, it will start at a high level. It will start at a high level and it will get smaller over time. And so start at a high level and start putting together some of those things that you know you will need for sure. Like start with the things that you know you'll need to do for sure and then build from there. And this applies to when we're breaking down our vision. They say you eat the elephant one bite at a time. So that's how we do this. We start with this really big vision and then we start to just chunk out pieces. And that's all you'll do. You'll start to notice sections or areas or categories, whether it's health related, relationship related, hobby related, community related, work related, like those things will start to surface and then you can start to break down those pieces out. So if it's a career change, if you want to be a counselor or a psychologist or an attorney or an artist, whatever it is, but right now maybe you want to be an artist and right now you're an accountant. All right, well, if you wanted to transition into being an artist, what are some steps that you would have to take to do that? First, you got to start creating some. So that's an example. Like if you want to be an artist and be an artist for a living as a professional, great. But the first thing you got to do, you got to start creating. So start creating. Start exploring your creative powers. This is what I mean. You don't have to have it all mapped out. But if you want to make this big, broad, sweeping changes, that's totally okay. But find something that connects to that and then take action on it. That's the point. So if you want to be an artist in this example, you have to be creating. So if you're not creating and you want to be an artist, start creating. That's step one. Other things will start to clarify. So that's what I want you to do is you start to build a vision and you take that vision and all those little pieces, those areas of it, pull one action item out of it. And if you do that for each thing, you'll slowly start to put together a plan and start to build towards what you want. And that's ultimately the goal here. And so I'm not going to go into the SMART goals can work, obviously being specific and time bound. I set goals on a monthly basis, a yearly basis, and I have daily priorities. I think doing stuff on a monthly and yearly basis is great. So having a few goals that you want to hit each month is a great way to attack this. You don't need to overcomplicate it. I think sometimes we get way too overcomplicated with this stuff. I think the more important thing is that you're writing it down, you're tracking it, and then you're sharing, like you're going back to that same document a lot because that's important to stay connected to it, to stay visible to it, and just getting to work. That's ultimately why we start with the basics and we build from there. So that's get that vision, pick one action item, pull one action item out of each of those pieces and then start slowly building. And you don't do this all at once. Like I would encourage you to pick one area of this at a time. Do one thing at a time. So do your vision. All right, fine. Now sit down and pull tasks out. Pull one task for the visions. Create those tasks. Okay, that's fine. Now, find one task you're going to do. One task. That's okay. The point is to get you moving and just get things rolling. We get so stuck in our heads. It's so easy to get really stuck in our heads. So I'm trying to get us out of our heads and get us into action. And a great way to do this is to have positive and supportive people around us that can help us and help us stay motivated, help us stay connected. This is one of the reasons why I love Twitter. It's because there's so many brilliant people on there. The same thing with LinkedIn that you can connect with and meet, that you can rally around one another. You can get behind each other's visions. You can get behind each other's missions. Like, it's a beautiful thing. So you got to find your tribe. You got to find your people. You got to surround yourself with people that are ambitious, that are hungry, that are supportive to achieving your goals. It's accountability, support, all this stuff has a huge, huge effect on our ability to achieve. The third piece here, strategy 3, I've got it listed out as taking actions daily that align with your vision. We've already talked a bit about this. It's like how we pull those small bits out. And then, so again, it's just starting small. That's why these consistent small actions, these big visions that we often have, we get overwhelmed, we shut down, we don't do anything. That's why I want you to pull one action item out of each of the components, right, of your vision. Just one action item. Pick that action item each day. Just one daily action. All you need to do relative to this vision is pick one daily action. So you build your vision. Once you build your vision, you identify a single task that you could take from that vision to work towards. And then each day you pick a task. And you're going to add tasks as well over time because things will become more clear. Your vision becomes more clear. You understand what you need to do. You'll add more tasks and picking one task each day and just doing that one task. One task each day towards your vision will bring that vision to life in time. I promise y'all, man, it really does. It's crazy how this stuff works, and it will show you in action that it does work. It'll show you how it works. Because this is the way we build habits and routines. This is how we restructure our life in a way that enables us to take action towards the vision that we desire. And the last bit here is just regularly reviewing and updating your vision. As I've said a few times, you just want to make sure that you're always looking at this stuff. You're looking at it. You're seeing it. You're understanding what you're doing. You know the vision you're working towards. You're reminding yourself of it. You're looking at those tasks. You're looking at what you want. It's so important. That's why vision boards are important. That's why I use my Remarkable. I have it with me every day. I'm in there every day. So I look at my goals for the month. I look at what I'm doing annually. I go back and I check the visions. And I've got like multiple vision notebooks relative to experiences, material things, spiritual experiences. It's fun. And you get to go in and you get to review this stuff and you can check things off and you go back and you look and you're like, wow, man, I really did a lot this year. And so when you break it down from month and annual and you go back and review this stuff, it just, you see how much we can do on an everyday basis. Alarm's going off. Got to get the baby up here in 10 minutes. I'm going to try and wrap this episode quickly, y'all. So I got a few fictional examples. That was the last bit there in terms of envisioning the life and then bringing that vision to life. Small daily steps, pulling out those action items, and just bit by bit, day by day, bit by bit, tiny little steps. Remember, tiny little steps, brick by brick. That's how Rome was built, brick by brick. All right. So I'm going to quickly go through these because I think the fictional examples are a little more fun. It's more to activate our creative interest. And so for me, these are some creative movies that I think, or one is a story. So the first one though is Alice in Wonderland. And most people are familiar with Alice in Wonderland. She goes into this crazy imagined world and has all these insane experiences. And she gets small, she gets big, she meets all these crazy characters. But I think what I love about it and why I'm tying it to this exercise is because it illustrates the power of our creativity. Like, that world was creative and crazy, and Alice goes through this insane journey in this world that she's exploring. And so much of that is like us bringing our dreams to life. Like that journey that Alice goes through, the ups and downs, the craziness, the all over the place, everything seems chaotic, but you're still slowly stepping towards where you want to be. That's what this is. That's how we operate. That's how our life is. That's what it can feel like. Resonate with that journey. If you're crazy enough to have a vision and you want to bring it to life, like you're like Alice in Wonderland right now. You're going through all this crazy stuff and you're bringing that vision to life. So lean into that. Have fun with it because that's the energy, the vibe we're trying to bring with this work. And then the next one is The Wizard of Oz. Again, most of you are probably familiar with Wizard of Oz. Dorothy's lost in this and she's in the world of Oz, and she's trying to find her way back home, and she goes on this crazy adventure, and she learns to believe in herself and discovers her own strength, her inner bravery. She had the power all along. She just had to click her heels together, and she had to believe. It was always there. But what happened? The world told her that she didn't. There was all this fear-mongering. It's very similar. Again, like we have all this inner power. We've always had that power. It's just we're unaware of it. We don't know it. And the world is telling us otherwise. So this is how we counter that. So again, resonate, vibe, anchor into your Dorothy energy. Remember, you got that power in you now. And then the third one is The Alchemist, which is a novel. It's a really beautiful story. And again, it's about the character. He has a dream, and he journeys to fulfill his dream, and along the way discovers the importance of pursuing one's personal legend and ideal life vision, because he ends up coming back to where he started. Again, it's like we go out and we're like, all over the place, but we come back to ourselves. Because when we allow the world to define our version of success, that's not what we usually desire. And we get lost in that. So many of us get lost in that. The Alchemist is about transforming our life and living our life, whatever that means, the ideal version of it, not the ideas of success, wealth, all this stuff that society has told us. So that's the energy that we're again anchoring here, is that alchemist energy that we transform and make our lives based on what we desire from within. All right, y'all. That's all I got for the episode. I hope you enjoyed. I really want to encourage y'all to get out there and do your thing. So you start with that vision, get detailed, get granular, have fun with it. Take time. Take your time on this. Expand. It's going to grow. Make sure you have a way to capture it. Make sure you're recording it, you're studying it, you're reviewing it, you're going back to it, and you're breaking out those tasks bit by bit, day by day. And when you do a little bit each day, just one task each day, y'all. That's really all it takes. Just commit to doing one task out of your vision work each day to do that. It can be the smallest tasks. Never underestimate the power of continuity and consistency. I'm telling you, it's how all things are built in the world. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So keep doing it, y'all. All right, everyone. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your ears, your vibes, your energy, your attention. It's very expensive in today's world of endless information and chaos. So I deeply appreciate you. I hope you're enjoying the content, the blog, active on LinkedIn and Twitter, so you can get at me on there if you want. Twitter is at Brandon Lee Ward. LinkedIn is Brandon L. Ward. My website is brandonleeward.com. I've got transformational coaching services up there. I'm offering a 12-week personal power program that I built out based on all the things that I've learned over the last 15 years. And I'm excited to be offering it to clients and working with people on helping transform their personal power. So if you're interested in that, you can get at me too. You can DM me or you can connect with me on my website. I have a form you can fill out and you can book a time for us to chat and connect to see if we'd be a good fit to work together. We can spend 30 minutes together to explore. If you're interested in that, you can hit me up. But otherwise, y'all, I really appreciate your time. Hopefully you have a good week, rest of your week, good weekend, and I'll wait until next time, y'all. Thank you for listening to Order Within. If you found the episode helpful, please consider sharing, rating, and subscribing. New episodes will be released every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, y'all.